We are here with Tammy Buckner, the founder, CEO of WeCode KC. I'm excited to do this. I know you've been up here with us before, but it's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
And a lot has happened.
I can't believe when you said 2023, and I'm like, really? It's been that long?
I didn't either. Somebody said, I was thinking, like, who do I need to get back up here that we've had up that has done a lot? And your name was like the first one. I was like, yeah, but it seems like you were just here.
Right.
So I started going back, trying to find the episode, and I was going back. It was like spring of 2023.
Wow.
So it was almost 2 years ago.
It's been, well, time flies when you're busy, right?
Right, and
Or
you
having
have
fun.
been busy. Yeah, well, I think you've been
busy.
doing both, right?
I've been doing a little bit of both.
So tell me, since the spring of 2023, tell me what has transpired with WeCode. First of all, for those of us, for those who are maybe not familiar with the program and not familiar with the work that you've done, tell us a little bit about WeCode KC.
Yeah.
About what y'all do.
Yeah, so WeCode KC is a nonprofit organization. We mainly focus on the urban core. We expose technology to students, marginalized students that are historically left out of technology. We start at age 7 years old and we go up to 26, making sure that they are prepared for the workforce, giving them the skills that they need to be productive in technology.
I love that you say you're a workforce development organization
Absolutely.
Versus an educational program.
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
What's the difference in your mind between those, and why that focus?
We want to make sure that we're creating a tech pipeline for our tech companies. We want to make sure it's not just an education system, because our goal is to prepare them for the workforce. Some of our students, they may go to college, but a lot of them just want to work. They want to get money. Sure. You know, so we figured, and then we kind of dropped this STEAM because that was difficult for people to understand what STEAM and STEM really means. So we just went with workforce development program, an innovative workforce development program, so that they know technology is our focus in getting our students prepared for the workforce.
And how do you go about doing that? So you start at 7, I think it's 7 to 17, is that your age range?
That's our main, and then with the workforce development, that has been more of the high school and college age students. So that's going up to 26. And the reason I say 26, because you think about kids that graduate from college, they still don't know how to get to the tech companies. They still need someone to help bridge that gap, to make an introduction. A lot of our college students are first-generational college students, so no one in their family really knows anyone in the tech space. So they still need someone to bridge that gap. And that's why we go up to 26, because it's difficult, even though they've gone to college, they have the skills, they have a portfolio, they have some experience. Now what? Right. Now, how can you introduce me? How do I prepare for my resume? How do I prepare for an interview? Right? So that's why it's more specific going up to age 26. We don't want to be everything for everybody, and that's why the cutoff. There's so many other programs outside of WeCode that tackle that adult age, 18 and up.
Yep, definitely. So what kind of programs do you run for the kids, or for you call them students?
We call them students, young engineers, junior engineers, we call them all of that.
Whatever suits you in the moment.
Whatever suits you in the moment, robotic students. But no, we start at age 7, and that's very basic, block technology. They're literally moving blocks to create tech.
Okay.
That just gets them started. The way I see it, if you know how to read, you should know how to learn how to code. So again, starting at age 7, but when they get to that age in their junior high and high school, which research shows is best to start them at that middle age, trying to understand what they want in a career. Starting at middle age, middle school, now we're starting to understand or talking about, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right? So that's when we start getting into a little bit more advanced technology. And then it's text-based technology. So it's Python, it's JavaScript. We've even started rolling in, of course, AI and cybersecurity. So those are the programs. And you think about, some of the kids may not understand what those languages are. So we have a conversation about game development, which is Roblox Studio, which is Minecraft. those skills are really skills that they're utilizing in the workforce.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now you've been doing this since 2018?
2017.
2017?
Yes, it's been a while.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun.
All right, so now let's go back the last 2 years. What's happened with WeCode in the last 2 years? And your growth has been, I mean,
It's been busy.
it makes my head hurt watching from the outside how much.
It makes your head is hurting. Just think about what mine is.
I know.
No, it's because these last 2 years we had to step back and look at what the tech companies really want. It was great when our kids are wanting things and we're just doing them. Now it's like, okay, we have our footing. We have the trust in the community. People see what we're doing, but it's important that we create a solid pathway to the workforce. So we had to pause for a minute and say, who is really our audience? Is our audience really the students, or are the audience really the tech companies in the education system? And we realize our true audience is tech companies and the education system. We have to prepare the students for our customer. And that's where we had to make a pause and stop and go and talk to tech companies. What do you want? What do you need in your workforce? Who do you need? What type of developers do you really need? So we had to stop and do that pause, and that's what we've been doing for the last year and a half or so. Okay. And now we found out, okay, they're looking at AI heavily. They're looking at cybersecurity, huge. And now it's saying, here's that platform, here's that program to prepare them to get those certifications and to provide them with mentorship, providing them with career learning. What we heard from a lot of our tech companies and employers, they're saying these kids are too young. They don't know how to perform in the workspace. Sure. So again, we had to stop and make sure that they have the experience. We have a lot of high school and college students that come back to us. So we're building that alumni network. When they come back, they're now the instructors, so that they can get the experience on their portfolios. So that's where, that's what we've been doing for the last year and a half or so.
I love when you go to the website, I was looking at some of the stuff you guys have been up to, and I love the way you characterize it as not just teaching the skills, but leadership.
Absolutely.
And when I was at the Tech Council for quite a few years, listening to employers talk about it's not the hands-on keyboard skills sometimes that we're missing. It's those essential skills. I mean, people call them soft skills. I hate that. It's these essential skills. Like, how do you communicate?
That's right.
How do you perform in a team?
Absolutely.
How do you work with your peers?
Yep.
Are you able to, take direction? Are you able to show up for work on time?
Are you able to just show up for work? Are you able to clock in and clock out when you're supposed to? Right. That your time is not just running throughout the entire day because you forgot to clock in. When you are not able to show up, call someone and let someone know that you're not able to show up. So yeah, essential skills, durable skills, all those skills, but a lot of our students just weren't prepared. And you can tell when you even just go to a fast food restaurant, right? And you talk to teenagers and they don't look you in the eye. They will not say thank you. They will not say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Is there anything else that I can help you? I mean, these are customer service skills. For sure. That many of our students just are not prepared. And that we want to prepare our students. We want you to come into a WeCode and a 14-year-old child will look you in the eye and have no problem with talking with you, letting you know what program that they just worked on. Those are the skills that are so important that we need to make sure that our students are ready for.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, Tammy. It's exciting to watch the work happen and watch these kids. How many kids have you had come through your program since 2017?
So since inception, right about 3,800 kids.
Holy.
I know, right? And it's like every time I look and I'm like, is that a right number? Can y'all go back and make sure?
Somebody's telling a lie here.
Right, and I'm like, are you serious? But no, you think about all of the outreach we have worked with, and I love working with KCDC. They've helped us launch a Kids Tech Day, right, when they do their conference. That give us like 400 to 500 students just that in one day. So that has grown our program. The partnerships with different schools, different youth organization, different churches, just has grown the numbers. And just overall, a lot of kids are just starting to bring their friends. Because you think about kids that they may be loners, but they found their tribe. Sure. So now they're bringing their friends. So that is just continuing to go. Our robotics program has gone through the roof. If you've seen, one of our partnerships has been with UMKC and the Royals. Yep. So we created this robot throughout the first pitch at the Royals.
It's amazing.
Been so much fun, and now the kids, now we get to do it again this year. So now more kids are like, okay, I want to be a part of that. But that grows the program. That engagement grows our program.
So I was going to talk about this later, but since you brought it up, let's jump to it. So over the last 2 years, and in particular over the last 12 months, the number of partnerships that I've seen WeCode form or join or create has been, it's an impressive group of partners. And it's an impressive way to do those partnerships, to bring those partnerships to bear for the kids. And I know I do want to come back to who's your true audience, because this has been a raging debate in education, especially higher ed, for a long time. But on the partnership side, how have you been able to do this? Like, what do you think is the secret sauce for WeCode to get some of these partnerships?
That is such a good question. Grace of God. I don't know. It's just like our influence has been amazing because we are willing to collaborate. We are willing to work with other people. And it's not about, of course, I'm not going to say it's not about the funding, because it truly is.
Oh, at the end of the day, we all know that.
We all know that. But it's the exposure, because our kids get to work with influential people that we can help them solve problems through technology. Right. And they get to be a part of that. Yeah. We have an amazing partnership with KC Current. Yep. They had the opportunity to create a soccer game with the goalie, with the goalkeeper. And it's just something that they get to put on their resume.
When I saw that, when I see the first pitch, the robotics thing on the first pitch, I'm a baseball guy, so I love to see that. Yeah. Then I see the KC Current working with the goal, creating the soccer game. Are you bringing those ideas to the partnerships? Are those things you sit down and co-create with those partners? Like, or is it a mix of this?
Our students.
Really?
Yes, we bring the partners in, and they get to talking about things, what they like to do, and the students are like, hey, well, what about doing this? Now, the Royals were they came out and they were like, hey, they gave us a challenge. They were like, hey,
But that's cool. That
was
though,
really
right?
cool, right? But we give that challenge to the kids and let them create it all. You got some kids over here creating, the CAD, and they're drawing it out, and then you got the other kids over here that's coding it. Well, we have to figure out how to put those two together, right? Same thing with the soccer. We had those kids, they had been doing Scratch, and so they're like, okay, how in the world do we create this? And, one of the kids, they got to drawing her picture. So I'm like, okay, now how do we create that into an avatar? So all of this, they come together, and it's just the ideation that these kids, and they're fearless. Yeah. They are fearless, they are bold, and it's okay for them. And if it doesn't work, it's okay, because we're in a safe space to fail, right. And then we just fix it.
Oh, you're teaching them so many important things.
Oh my goodness.
To have those experiences as a kid, that idea of failure is okay.
Exactly.
Experimentation is the name of the game.
Exactly.
To be able to, and I love the way they throw out a challenge and the kids solve it. Yeah. That is just, those are amazing things to do, and a great way to create those partnerships. Yeah. So hats off to you.
And those are some of the things they don't get the opportunity to do at school, because it's always about, making sure that the numbers are there, and they got to test. Well, when do the kids get the opportunity to be creative? When do the kids get the opportunity to just stop and just have a good time? And it may not be right, but then they can come back and fix it. And it's okay. It's okay, because it's not on your transcripts, right? But it's a safe space. So that allow us to be creative and think outside the box. And I think that's really what these kids really want.
So to that end, the idea of education and how education works today, and you get these kids, these students who come through the program, do you have to unteach and I'm not trying to throw shade at the education system. Maybe I am. Do you have to unteach some of the structure or some of the things that these kids might hear from teachers or through that more structured process?
I don't know if it's unteach, but help them be a little bit more, and maybe it is unteach, teach that structure, because we want them to voice their opinion. And again, sometimes they don't have that opportunity. Sometimes they don't have the motivation or the encouragement to say, yes, I can figure that part out, right? Or to be a leader. We have kids that come to our program, they may have some type of, and I don't like calling it a disability, but maybe like ADHD or nonverbal, and we give them the opportunity. We'll ask them to lead a class. We had a kid that had been working with us during our cybersecurity camp, nonverbal. We didn't hear this kid speak for weeks. Then he came to our summer camp, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, what do you think about, Raspberry Pi? And before I could walk off, because I didn't think he was going to speak, normally he has an iPad and he writes it down, and just started talking. And I stopped, and I'm like, wait, was he just talking? And, and everybody's like, did you guys just hear him? So, and it's like sometimes the education system don't allow educators or the teachers to stop, right? These kids know when someone is listening to them. So it allowed me and everyone else in the room to stop. Like, we have not heard this kid speak in weeks, but we found something that he really likes. He got up and taught exactly what he just learned in this class. So now I feel that it's an opportunity, again, for them to not only be exposed to things that they're normally not, and then to experience adults that would actually stop and listen.
Yeah,
and
give them
again,
that space.
Yeah, no shade on our education system, because I applaud our teachers. I know they have a lot of work to do, and sometimes they just don't have the opportunity to stop and listen.
Yeah, that's the true value of programs like yours.
Absolutely.
For sure. So when you think about planning out the future for WeCode, and you think about, you mentioned when you go back and you talk to your audience, the employers, about, what are you seeing, what do you need, those types of things. Where do you see the technology or the things that you need to be teaching these kids from the technology perspective? Where do you see that going in the next few years? You mentioned artificial intelligence, and we do multiple events here a month around artificial intelligence, but there's the engineering side. But what we're hearing in the enterprise space in particular is, and you see these commercials on TV with SAP and these other, like, prompt engineers, just people who understand how to do prompts and understand how to interact with artificial intelligence to get the answers and do those things. Are you seeing any work for what you do in terms of that, just understanding how to use the technology versus how to actually build the technology?
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm clear on the question, but.
No, absolutely, because I think especially in the AI space, we're working with our educators, our community, and we want to work with our government also to utilize AI as a tool, as a resource, not just how to use it as a prompting. It's showing our educators that our students aren't using it to plagiarize or to cheat, but showing them how to use it. So now it can deepen the creativity, it can deepen the lesson plan, deepens the research. So while our teachers are using it as a tool, our students are also using it, but asking specific questions, because if you can utilize AI agents and the students are asking questions, and it's like a back and forth conversation with these agents. So that's the way we feel that it's going to help us, with the education system, showing them how to use it effectively. More importantly, showing them how to use it ethically as well. We just recently partnered with Microsoft so that we can launch an ethical AI program for our education, for the community, and we've done a 8-week program. So now we're ready to launch that, and help launch that in our schools.
It seems like WeCode is in a great position to be the true innovator in this space, because you aren't held back by this idea of it has to be accredited, it has to go through a year or however long it takes to build a program, get it approved, do the things. Yep. You can test stuff all the time. You can be experimenting constantly
all
with
the
how
time.
you're teaching. And
all the time. Our partnership that we're working with UMKC that would allow us to create those dual credits in those transcripts, making sure those credits are on the transcripts. So doing it that way, we already have an accredited organization or a education system to help us with that, allows us to do what we want to do, be creative, cutting edge, and making sure that we can think outside the box now. And then, like I said, using them and working with them as far as the dual credits part. So when the kids are going through this program, it would shave off a year of like a computer science degree. Instead of them going for 4 years, now they only have to go for 3 years in getting those credits, not only through UMKC, but also getting that credit on their transcript for high school.
No, that's fantastic. So I want to switch gears a little bit and move from WeCode to Tammy. As the founder, as the leader of the organization, what has it been like to grow this organization and to grow a staff and to that's a different beast, right? That's a different problem.
It's a whole
to solve.
different beast. It's a whole different beast. It has been the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. As much as I love this organization, I feel that it is my calling. I feel that it's a ministry for me. At the same time, it's so challenging because now I'm in this role of I have to be that leader that people are looking up to, making sure that I hold people accountable because I'm being held accountable from my board, and also from my employees, right? So it has been a challenge, but I have done a lot of, I go do different classes, research, reading, preparing myself. I have mentors, advisory board that I speak with on a consistent basis, and of course my board of directors, constantly calling them, I don't know what to do. Here's some, situation, because sometimes you can't go to your staff, right? Because it may be one staff member that you're having a problem with. Right. So who do you go to? So it is a lot about making sure that you surround yourself with people that you can go to and cry on their shoulders sometimes, right? But having a mentor, having mentors, having an advisory board that you can speak with, and I certainly need all of that, as we're growing.
It's, you can be a subject matter expert in what you're working in, but the idea of managing people, I always tell, I used to say this until somebody pointed out that I should stop saying it, but I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it on camera now. The hardest thing about anything we do is people. So I came up in the restaurant business, and it was, some people don't show up, some people, but the business goes on. Yes. Managing people, yes. Giving direction, providing support, being there for your employees, but at the same time getting them to be accountable to the work. Yes. That's the balancing act.
It's the balancing act. It's hard. It is hard to manage people. And sometimes I have to stop and I'm like, am I their parent? Or am I their boss? Right? And I'm like,
but you want to be both.
You want to be both, right? Do you get in trouble? So it is the hardest thing I've ever had to do is manage people, because sometimes I have to step back. And sometimes, I'm like, okay, I don't need to hear everything, right? And then I don't want to be their friend either. So we can't just sit around and, talk. But I also want to make sure that I have a culture that I'm learning from them. I learn from everybody on my staff because we all have different lanes. And I want to make sure that I learn from them. I want to make sure that I listen to them. And I love them as people, not just as my employees, but as people and who they are. what they're dealing with in their everyday life. Because whatever they're dealing with, sometimes it shows up at work. There may be a situation at home and it just comes into work. Sure. Right? And even if I see that, I may have to stop and say, okay, slow down. Yep. Come into my office, let's talk, because there's something that we need to talk about. So it is definitely difficult, but I'm learning, I'm praying that I'm being the best leader.
You seem to be doing a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Definitely seem to be doing a pretty good job. So how many people are employed by WeCode?
Yep, right now we have full-time 5, 8 contractors. Some of those contractors are getting ready to move on to full-time.
Okay. That's exciting.
It is very exciting. It's scary. Yeah. Very scary, but exciting. But as we're growing, more schools are reaching out to us, more employers are reaching out to us, and now it's like, okay, we need to scale. It's time to scale. It's time to grow.
So what do those school partnerships look like for you?
So our school partnerships now are looking more like after-school programs, which is great, which is exactly what we wanted to do, have after-school programs. But does that really mean they're coming to WeCode, or my goal is to have satellites, right? Satellite programs in different schools and different youth
So they don't have
organizations.
to come. So it's just an after-school program at their school, but
Right.
WeCode runs it.
And we send our employees, our volunteers out to the schools and manage the after-school program there. It's almost like having a computer club. Yep. So yeah.
Fantastic. Are you doing that with schools today, or is that like on the roadmap? Is that something that you're developing with schools as they're reaching out?
We're developing that as schools as they're reaching out. So we did some pilot programs with different high schools and middle schools. Okay. And now we're figuring out, what does that really mean? Does that mean, because we're in the urban core, transportation has been a huge barrier. So we've gone out to those schools. It's been a little bit easier that we go out, we take our equipment, we have a locked space, and we're in that school for a period of time. What it looks like in the future, that's what we're still trying to figure out. Do we grow and we, plop a WeCode at different schools? So we're a satellite program, and that's literally the goal that I would
love that idea.
I would love that idea. Like there's a WeCode logo on buildings because they know that there's a WeCode computer class or lab there.
I can see it now. Are you a WeCode school? Yes, we are. Oh,
I like that,
yeah,
Kevin.
No, I do too. Seems to make a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
So what other, like when you think about, so the school model I think is a great example of this, of how does WeCode modify, transform how education happens today. Absolutely. I think that is definitely an opportunity. Do you see other integration points into, we'll call it the current structured system, for what you guys are doing?
Yeah, especially with our employers, being providing internships, apprenticeships with our businesses, because a lot of times they don't have the opportunity to go out and find interns that really work. So we want to partner with an organization, and I'll just say, say for instance, we're partnering with a Garmin, and we'll say, okay, for the next 5 years, we're going to train interns that will work with you during the summer. We'll work with them throughout the school year. During the summertime, they'll come to you and, they'll work with Garmin, for example. And what does that do? That not only builds the confidence of Garmin, that they have some solid interns, that we have worked with them, we have gotten the curriculum of what they need. They've also provided mentorship, leadership skills. So now when those interns are working there, they're familiar with the culture, they're familiar with the platform, the systems, and now that creates solid, internships and apprenticeships that's created for these tech companies.
Yeah, you've given it some standardization so they know what they're getting, what you're delivering. Yeah, that's. It seems like that's a great model. I had the opportunity to immerse myself in the old Sprint intern program, and it was the old way they did it was a department could put in for an intern, and then you would get an intern for the summer, and it was that traditional model of all right, I got to find something for you to do.
Right.
And so I said, no, I don't want one intern, I want 5, and I want them
Exactly.
to be a team, and
Yep.
I'm going to give them a project. And we started to see that model. CAPS does that with us, Northland CAPS. Kids are going to be here. They last semester worked on a project. So is that kind of your vision, like to be able to give them project-based work during the summer based on
Absolutely.
something that they've been doing during the school year,
Yep.
that kind of thing?
Absolutely. And then now they're prepared when they go in, instead of you taking a whole month to get them ready, figuring out what project they're going to work on, figuring out who those students are, period. Now you come in with students that you know or people that you're working with already throughout the year. So they're coming to us, like I said, providing that mentorship. So then during the summertime, they're ready to go. They're ready to work on a project. And now they're familiar with the organization.
You said that 5-letter word that scares a lot of us, scale. I know it scares a lot of founders. And when I say scares, in that good way, like that's the goal, right? Is to scale whatever it is you're doing.
Absolutely.
What are the challenges? What are the challenges and what are the opportunities for WeCode as you look to scale? I mean, you've touched so many kids in a meaningful way over time, but like, what's that look like when you start to scale this up in your mind?
Yeah. First, we wanted to scale deep into Kansas City. We wanted to build our foundation, the trust, the transparency, with our stakeholders. And now we want to see what that looks like outside of Kansas City with other cities that have the same needs as Kansas City. So I feel that we can duplicate this same program in other cities, not only urban cities, but also rural cities, right? Because rural have just as many problems as the urban core as well. So what that look like is is WeCode is going outside of Kansas City into other cities.
When you say outside of Kansas City, and the way you talk about Kansas City, is that Kansas City, Missouri, that you're looking to expand into other cities in the region? Or are you talking about a St. Louis or a Phoenix?
Right. I am talking about a national program that we have figured out how to do this in Kansas City. Yes, this will always be headquartered. But now we can take this into a St. Louis, into an Atlanta, into a Houston, and start the same program.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah, it's been done. We've seen it. I mean, Black Girls Code did it. And
Yes.
did it fantastically.
Yes, she's been amazing. Kim has been a huge
She's
mentor.
on your board.
She just rolled off this.
Wow. Okay,
which is
all right.
great. But it was only supposed to have been a year. She stayed on for another year, and it was more so as that mentor. She has absolutely given me the skills, the mentorship, and of course she's always there. I mean, I can call her, but she's the one that encouraged me because I initially hey Kim, can we start a Black Girls Code in Kansas City? Yeah. And she's like, no, start your own movement. I've seen you, start your own thing.
Good on her.
And it was true, and I'm like, what? But she's been amazing, truly an asset to what I really needed to, talk and can call her at any point. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So yeah, it's been done. So all right, do you have a market that you're eyeing for the next market, or is it too early to say?
It's a little too early to say. I've been going back and forth to St. Louis lately. Sure. That may be the next. I'm not sure. Of course, Kim and I have been talking about Memphis. We're both from Memphis, Tennessee.
Did not know that.
Yep,
Okay.
We're both from Memphis. So she's getting ready to launch Black Innovation Lab there. So of course she's like, okay, we need WeCode here. So absolutely. So eyeing those two spaces right now. Just what does it really mean that we just need to pop a WeCode there? So yeah.
Now you guys are at down on Troost right now, right? Yep. 47.
4825
4825, right next to 4747. Yep. All right. Looking at any other branches in the region? Any other places in the region where you could plan have a greater presence, or is it more this satellite school approach that you're looking at?
It's a little bit of both. Okay. It's a satellite area, but it's also community based. So absolutely, if we could work together with other organizations to come together and create whatever that community space needs to look like for the urban core. So even if it's multiple schools and then there is a bigger community space, absolutely, we would love to do that. I think it's needed for our communities. I think our students need more and more of these opportunities and programs. Yes, there are other programs that are very similar to WeCode, and we need more of them. I never knock the opportunities that our students get to learn more about technology, and it does not have to just come from WeCode. There's so many other organizations that we need to have more. So if it's, in different schools, satellite schools, and then also a community space, yes.
Yeah, we've had this debate about talent amongst the industry players where there's been this resistance to fluidity of talent moving around within the market. I know historically there was a former major employer in Kansas City that got really upset when an employee would leave. They would kind of pretty much say, you're done, you're never coming back. I think you might have worked for them at one point in time. But what they fail to understand is those employees leave, they pick up new skills and new perspectives,
Absolutely.
and you bring them back and they bring value back into your organization.
Yes.
I think the same thing holds true with programs like yours, right? Like having kids that have experienced other programs just adds richness and value to the program that you're running.
Absolutely. It's so funny because I've had one of our students contact me and goes, hey, Miss Tammy, I truly apologize, but I got to leave WeCode. And I'm like,
What?
Oh, right. First, I'm like, excuse me? No. I'm like, okay, that's great. I mean, that's exactly what we want you to do. We want you to pick up these skills and leave and spread your wings. And, a lot of them come back as mentors, as instructors. So, yes, go out, learn these other new skills that we don't have. You need to deepen your knowledge in these spaces. Just, if you have the opportunity to come back to be a mentor or volunteer, please do. But yeah, we definitely want you to go out and find more skills to deepen your knowledge in this space.
I have sent volunteers your way, and I've done it blindly, it's people will come to Keystone or they'll come to me and say, I'm looking for an opportunity to do something. Mm-hmm. And our volunteer opportunities, honestly, for what we do are fairly limited. I mean, and I am not structured enough to give people work. Thankfully, we have volunteers that can just be self-starters and figure out where they fit. For you, when somebody's looking for an opportunity to make an impact, give back, my sense is people look at WeCode and get nervous because they're like, I'm not someone that can teach kids to develop.
Yes.
There are other opportunities though. There are other things
Absolutely.
so give me a sense of what can volunteers do for WeCode?
Yep.
What can the community do
And we
to
get
help?
a lot of those conversations and they'll call and they're like, but I'm not a techie. It's okay because there's so many other areas that we need. We need someone just to literally come in and work with our students. Some of our students get off track. You can just help them get back on track. You don't have to be teaching the class. You don't have to be the instructor, but you can be a classroom, monitor, making sure they're not on their phones, especially during the summertime when we have our summer camps. Some of our kids, we need to make sure they got all this energy. So during half of the day, it's like, one summer my daughter she was a cheerleader at that time, so she brought a few of her cheerleader friends. And it was just like the kids was out there dancing, right? Just to get some of that energy. So there's other areas. And then we need people to help us with marketing. We need people to help with, some financial, some of the things we have to make sure, especially reports, that especially if they have that background, they can come in and help sign kids in. So there's so many areas that we can work with some of our volunteers to help us with. We need just some thought leaders. Like, come in and help us evaluate the program. Let us know, is there something that you feel we're missing? We want that information and feedback from many people that are in different spaces. So there's a lot of opportunities.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Tammy.
Oh, my.
No.
That
What's your
scares
favorite
me.
barbecue? No. I know it's like a religious war in Kansas City. You can never ask anybody that question. If I'm a big believer in, if you say it out loud, you manifest it, right? Like what's that big vision you have? What's that crazy thing you want WeCode to do that you just haven't, like, you're not sure that you want to tell anybody because it's maybe a little bit outside the line? Do you have any of those that have been rolling around in your head?
I really want WeCode to be seen as, and you said it earlier, a subject matter expert in innovative workforce program. I want people to, and nationally, not just at Kansas City. I want people to see WeCode as an opportunity that our students can actually learn about technology, because oftentimes our education system just don't have that opportunity. So I do want us to be seen as a national leader, in innovative workforce development, in workforce opportunities, because that is a space that it's not only difficult to build, but it's difficult for our students to see themselves in the engineering and technology without seeing other people, right? And I want them to be able to come to WeCode for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you're on your way.
Thank you.
I do. I think you're on your way. I mean, I've, and I know I'm not alone in this, the reputation that you've developed with these kids, with the program, you've been able to scale this thing in Kansas City. I think you're on your way.
Thank
I think
you.
you're on your way to doing that.
I appreciate it.
How do we solve the brain drain problem? I think one of the things I've heard educational leaders, I used to get so frustrated. I'm on the business school board at the University of Kansas, and they love to take the best students and take them out to Silicon Valley. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are you taking the best kids out? Why don't you take them to Kansas City and show them the opportunities that are here? Absolutely. But on one hand, you want them to, I think you said earlier, spread their wings and fly. You want to see them go do amazing things and change the world. And but at the same time, we have a tech talent gap, a massive tech talent gap here in Kansas City. How do we stop the brain drain, and do we really, I mean, is it something that is a focus for you to keep kids in the region?
It
or
is.
Is it more, okay.
It absolutely is a focus for this organization here now. It is absolutely a focus to keep them here. Why? Because we have the students right here. And what bothers me is when our companies, tech companies, they go outside of Kansas City. And sometimes they may hire these people that not familiar with the community. We want people to stay here, give them the skills, give them a good job so that they can purchase affordable houses, so that they can pay taxes, and that, increase the economy in Kansas City. Like Kansas City, again, even though I'm not from here, I love Kansas City, but we have a lot to offer. So we want them to have great jobs and stay here, so that they can have the opportunity, to build, that tech space. Kansas City truly could be the next tech hub. It really could, because all of the cost of living is very economical. Why not keep them here, give them the jobs, so that they don't leave? I've seen teenagers and, college students, they'll get these skills and then they leave because there's nothing here. There's a lot here. For sure. There's a lot here, and we want them to get these jobs. And I think, speaking with Kara and, people over at KC Tech Council, like, what can we do to help bridge that gap? Is there anything that we can help with to make sure that we are continuing to close that gap?
I want us to stop talking about being the next. We're always the next.
Right.
Let's be the top.
Let's be the top.
Let's be a top. Let's be the top.
Let's be the top. And, the way I see it, speak it into existence.
Right.
Stop saying, like you said, stop saying we can be the next. No, we are. We are, just like, you hear about Mahomes and all this, like, three-peat. We are going to do it. Like, the same thing with the tech space. Yes, we are the next. We are that tech hub right here, and it can happen.
Yeah, and I think programs like yours are important to make that a reality for the region. So,
that's my goal.
Yeah, appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
What's the, what is the, how do I say, what's the hardest thing about what you do?
Fundraising.
Okay.
It's fundraising. And it's so funny when, you talk to, we go through our board every quarter, and, and it's like, you should be the top fundraiser. Like, that's your job. 100, that's it. That's your focus. And I'm like, that's it? I'm like, that's all I got to do is just go raise money? That's hard, because not only it's building relationships, and it's not like that you go into a organization or someone and you walk out with a check. Yeah, that don't work. That does not work. I wish, but no. But it's building those relationships, Now it's, creating the trust, the transparency. That's a lot of work. That is the hardest part of my job. So when I get the opportunity to go in and, chill with the kids as they're in the robotics, oh my God, when schools call me out and like, hey, can you come out and, speak? That sometimes for a long time, I was sending other people. I'm like, we have to divide and conquer. And I'm like, no, I want to do that. I want to go out and see the kids. But it's the fundraising part.
Yeah, you have to spend an inordinate amount of time when you're in the nonprofit space.
Writing.
Finding the next dollar.
Yeah, finding that next dollar, writing, developing the relationships, writing more. So, yeah.
Have you looked at, and I'm sure you have, how has your progression gone in looking at earned revenue models that can take some of that burden off of, the nonprofit fundraising side of what you do?
That has been our top goal, is to finding revenue streams. And we've been doing a great job at it because it's not only our kids learning web development, mobile app development, so now we're getting work. So now the young people, we have, of course, senior level developers that are also working, but now our students are building websites and they're building mobile apps, and that's one of our revenue streams. And then it's about the speaking engagements and the technology strategy. So people contact us like, how do we do this? How do we create a real world learning program? How do we create a robotics program? Like, we have to charge for that.
Yeah, pay me.
We pay.
Pay me.
Pay me, period. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur first.
Yeah.
So it's like, those are revenue streams for us. So we had to start building that into, here's how much we want to make from, these different areas of revenue streams. But yeah, absolutely. Then, of course, there's areas where, we want to start, like I talked about, a podcast. And you think about revenue that comes from different podcasts. Those are areas that we are looking at, as that revenue stream, so that we're not heavily relying on grants 100%.
Yeah,
That is definitely not our goal.
Every bit helps, for sure. Yep, absolutely. Well, I made you promise last time you were here, and you came through on that one. But will you come back? Because as you continue to grow this, as you continue to expand, not just nationally, which I'm excited to hear that you want to take this thing national. But as you build other types of programs and support for the kids and for the audience piece, the employers, I want to have you back to talk about that, and so people can learn from kind of the path that you're trailblazing, because you are. As part of the Disruption Lab, what we've wanted to do with this podcast, what we've wanted to do with this is really kind of put those people out who are disrupting the norm and disrupting the way things work, and you're doing it.
Thank you. It's been, like I said, it's a challenge, but it is so rewarding. When you see these young people that are going off to college and they're in the space, they may be going for cybersecurity. We have a young lady that's in China, for computer science. And when you hear, and they come back, especially during this Christmas break, a lot of them came back and talked about their experiences. And I walked through our halls like crying, like, oh my God, like, this is really what we did.
That's why you do it, though.
And
right?
That's exactly why we do it. So thank you for the opportunity for sharing. I appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for what you do.
Thank
I appreciate
you, Kevin.
it. We all
appreciate
appreciate it. So, and we'll have you back soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Disruption Lab podcast, brought to you by the Keystone Innovation District and recorded live at Keystone Sessions. I am your host, Kevin McGinnis, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to tune in next Thursday for more insights from entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry disruptors. Until then, keep challenging the norm and making waves.